to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Michael, how can you appreciate women so much but also dump one of them? You mean, how can I be so illogical and flighty and unpredictable and emotional? Well, maybe I learned something from women after all.
I mean, you don't think that he jerked off to me? Yeah. Really? Bitch, duh. All teachers jerk off to their students.
No, they don't. All teachers do not jerk off to their students.
Oh, sweet Abby. Once students have flowered, teachers are either them or jerking off to them. Respect the ones who only jerk off. The other ones are in the news.
No. Alonda, no.
We can't control our thoughts, dude. Jerking off is not a crime.
Well, it depends on where you do it.
In the privacy of their own home?
I don't know. It still creeps me out.
All right, let's get real. You ever jerk off to JTT?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Yeah, I mean, all the time.
As he was on Home Improvement? That poreless olive skin? Or as he is now, a present-day 31-year-old actor?
Oh, no. I've been jerking off to a teenager every other night.
And are you a creep? Are you a criminal? We're all jerking off to teenagers. And I'll tell you what, they're jerking off to us too. That's the circle of life.
When you say it like that, it's not creepy at all.
Yes, dude. Jerking off is all we got. It literally saves the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence that you were talking about the Jack and Triumph show and I'm here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, the guy who makes all those unlistenable podcasts over at smodcast.com, and you're listening to the Two Strangers, One Podcast. This is podcasting.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes or on the Stitcher app for Android devices. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net. Now, here's Chris Colon and Paul Pasquillo.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
And this is the first podcast of 2019. We were going to record last week, but of course, life is life. Shit gets in the way. But, you know, as they say, new year, new me, Paul.
Is that what they say?
That same old bullshit. Enough of that fucking nonsense. I think I posted the perfect one where it says, I ain't changing shit in 2019 because I ain't the fucking problem. With that being
Chris is the problem.
I am not the problem. That sounds like a movie quote. I am not the fucking problem. No. But where to begin? Our government shut down, Paul.
Stupid government shutdown.
Now,
it was okay until they said, "Oh, guess what? Your taxes aren't going to come out either." And I'm like, "Excuse me?"
But that's like I do not think it's good. You know, okay, fine. Technically, yes. I think if it went all the way to August 15th, that might be April 15th, that might be a possibility. But that's not. I mean, you know, these people need to chill out. You know, I mean, I guess yes, technically, you know, but. You know, shit's gonna happen soon enough. It's not like we're not gonna have, you know, it's not like we're not gonna have government till April 15th. But, you know, and I'm kind of, you know, I wonder for the government employees who voted for Trump. I would love to get their reactions now. The people who are like aren't getting paid and stuff like that. How do you feel now? Huh? How's that working out for you? Is he running the government like he said he's gonna run his business? Not paying his employees? Because he's notorious for that, not paying his fucking employees or contracting jobs and not coming through when the time comes to pay. So how's that working out? But, okay, so unless you have more on that, the last time we were supposed to record last week, and I still have my notes from last week's episode. So if some of this stuff is old news, you know, fuck it. I'm not going to throw out fucking perfectly good notes. It would have been Stan Lee's 96th birthday. So I thought that's kind of sad that, you know, we've gone a year so far without Stan Lee. And on New Year's Eve, I decided to watch a couple of movies, and two movies that I haven't had a chance to see up until that point. I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was good. You know, it's funny, like that movie doesn't get the props I think it deserves. It was pretty fun. I mean, you know, it's kind of a low stakes movie. I mean, it came out after fucking Infinity War, so you know, after Infinity War being like all heavy and fucking, you know, depressing and people are turning into dust and, you know, are they ever going to come back? You know, Ant-Man vs. the Wasp, it was fun. It was light. I enjoyed it. And then I forgot, oh yeah, Stan Lee has a cameo in it, where they're driving cars down the street and they're driving their van down the street, and they have like the shrinking gun or whatever. And so Stan Lee goes to stick his keys in the car, and they shrink the car that he's about to stick his keys into. And he goes, the 60s were good, but I'm paying for it now, which I thought was cute. And then I also saw Venom on New Year's Eve. I was like, let me catch up on all the movies I haven't seen, and both of them were available. Well, they're streaming, but they weren't streaming on any of the major sites. I hate it when nowadays it sucks because you try to look up a movie that's not on Netflix or not on Hulu, and you says, stream stream Venom, and it's like, sure, you can stream it on this legit site. I don't want to watch. I don't want to pay to see it. I don't want to watch it on Vudu. I want to fucking stream it illegally. Goddammit. But so I was watching Venom.
The opinions of Chris Malone don't necessarily.
I want to see it now, and I don't want to pay for it. So I went. I saw streaming Venom, which once again was It was okay. I mean, seeing that we could have had. It's one of those deals where Venom came out 10 years ago. It would have been really good, definitely, especially after the last bullshit we had in the movie. But it's just like nowadays, they could have done so much more with it. But I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just it could have been. But it's like I think like right now they're saying it's nearing like $1 billion in profits and stuff like that. So so there's going to be a Venom 2, and I think with this kind of money, we're gonna have Tom Holland in it. I mean, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't have. But then again, I would have said, for them to not put Tom Holland in the Venom movie, I would have said that first, like, oh, they're definitely gonna put Tom Holland in it, and I was wrong about that. So, I wonder if they're gonna try to do it without Tom Holland. They'd be stupid if they didn't. But then again, the only one I haven't seen yet, not for the lack of trying, is Into the Spider-Verse, which I think is something we mentioned in the last episode. I haven't seen it yet, but I guess I'll see it legit one day.
Notice how he said one day.
Yeah. But it's funny how the last episode I had already seen Aquaman, even though it wasn't in U.S. theaters yet. And that's another one that's going strong right now. Once again, that's another one coming close to $1 billion, and then with Wonder Woman right around the corner and Shazam right around the corner, and them getting ready to start filming the Harley Quinn movie. We're gonna get more DC movies from that universe, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Henry Cavill tweeted a funny picture. Did you see the picture he tweeted for Aquaman? With him in the water. He put a picture of him in the water with like his face. It's really close up, so all you see is like his face. So he's halfway in the water, but he's also holding up like a spork, like he's holding up like it's supposed to be like Aquaman holding the trident.
Wait, yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was, or it might have been just a fork. Excuse me, not a spork. But it's supposed to be, and it's funny how people are posting memes where they're showing the picture of what's his face from Aquaman, Steve Carell from Aquaman. Because remember when all the guys from Aquaman had Steve Carell from Anchorman, excuse me, and they're saying Aquaman because Steve Carell is throwing a trident in the middle. Remember they have that big all-out brawl, all the Anchormen, and he's like, I think Brick had a trident.
They put him in like a meme or something.
Yeah, and it's like. And it's funny because Aquaman, the real legit Aquaman, doesn't have a trident in the movie. A trident has 3 points. What Aquaman has in the movie has 5 points. But in all fairness, I don't think they call it a trident. They call it something else in the movie. But everyone says, "Oh, Aquaman and his trident." It's not a trident, but that's just nerdy talk. Speaking of New Year's Eve, and what did you do New Year's Eve?
I worked.
Oh, you did.
I did.
Did you work through midnight, or did they had to end the movies before midnight, right?
Oh no. I worked. I had to because of how things are. I have to close the inventory, so that's what I was doing.
So when the ball dropped, you were at fucking work?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
But I have these. I had yesterday off. I have today off, and then I have Saturday off. So and then come to find out, literally, as I'm off. They sat there and they're like, oh, by the way, we're not going to close inventory anymore until the end of the month from now on. I'm just like, really, dude? I'm like, so, well, I mean, technically it was the end of the month for New Year's, so I guess, you know.
Yeah, and this is something like something we've been talking about, something we're talking about before the show is that, like, my last, in my current job, towards the end of last month, it was just sort of like, I think it's that weird week between Christmas and New Year's where, like, nobody's doing anything. Like, I mean, of course there are some, obviously some people have jobs, and a shout out to one of the listeners of the show, Tommy B, because I felt bad because he had also had to work through New Year's. But like that last week, my job, like last week, I was fucking twiddling my thumbs all week because there's really nothing to do. My job, and once again, my job is sort of like an on-demand thing, and there are other layers and there's other teams I could be a part of. But my particular team really had nothing to do last. And here we are. Once the new year hit, I think all the work that didn't get done last week has now fucking piled on us this week. And it's it's one of those deals where, like, last week I didn't have anything to do. Now I have too much to fucking do, so I kind of have to work more hours than what I'm supposed to because I'm trying to make up for last week for just sitting around twiddling my fucking thumbs. So I mean, it's a good problem to have, and hopefully soon I'll be going to full time because right now I'm still technically part time. But I mean, I'm trying to keep a fucking roof over my head. One of the things about, I really wanted to go down to New York City to visit my family for New Year's, especially I had that week off. My daughter had the week off, but just fucking money sucks, man. It's like, the money right now, it's like, you got to pay rent and got to take care of shit, and I'm still fucking part-time. And like, I promised my mom I was going to go down, and it's just.
Did they ever contact you about, like, that one company? Did she ever contact you again about potential jobs?
Oh, no, my old company, no. I told her, look, if you can't give me X amount of money an hour, don't fucking bother me. You know what I'm saying? And then,
yeah.
And I didn't hear from her, but you know what? It was that same company in the last two places I worked, fucking kind of both just let me go for no fucking reason. And, I'm not going to be like corny, like, oh, new year, new me, but it's sort of, part of me is this, this is a new year. It does feel like a bit of a start over. I started working for my boy, back in, I started working for my boy, I was kind of working both jobs back in like September, and I'm still not technically part-time. I'm still technically not full-time, but hopefully soon. I'd spoken to him today, and he's like, the full-time is like right around the corner. But I do want to think of 2019 as like a new start.
Yeah.
It blows my mind where all these people are posting memes right now is like how 1999 was 20 years ago, and I was like, holy shit, 1999.
That's what I said too. I'm like, oh my god, what is going on here?
I clearly remember. That's how I know I'm an old man, because like I remember 1999 as if it was like fucking yesterday. Like I remembered. I remember where I was during, when they got the news of like the Columbine shooting. I remember, I remember where I was. I remember like one of the most beautiful things. Like I went to go see, not the Columbine shooting. I went to go see The Matrix. 2 movies of that year that I went to go see: The Matrix and Fight Club. Both of those movies I went to go see without really seeing trailers for them. And a lot of people love fucking Fight Club, and a lot of people love The Matrix. Both of those movies I kind of went into like blind, I guess would be the best way to put it. And 2 of the, great fucking movies. What was I think Dogma was 99, Kevin Smith's Dogma. But then when I kind of was aware of, all the Y2K, everyone was scared of Y2K, and everyone thought the computers were going to fucking shut down. And if I'm not mistaken, the first episode of Family Guy was 20 years ago. Because if I remember,
might be.
It was after the Super Bowl. I specifically remember in the beginning of beginning of 1999, that first month, I had moved down to Philadelphia, or just south of Philadelphia. And me and my boy, we moved in together. Because he got a job down there, and he helped me get a job down there. And I remember like we had moved in earlier that week, and we were fully moved in by like the day the Super Bowl came on. And I specifically remember after the Super Bowl watching Family Guy.
Yeah.
And that was an episode about like Y2K and planes falling out of the sky and shit like that.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, 2 years later, fucking 9/11, but, at that particular time, it was still lighthearted planes falling out of the sky shit. I'm trying to remember what else happened in 1990. I mean, I moved a lot. I had like 4 different jobs in 1990. Like I moved to Philly, I moved back to New York, I came, and that was right.
Sounds
before,
like a lot of crap.
Right before I became a correction officer. All right, so let's move on to others. Let's talk about other current things.
Let me just say something real quick. Like, with what you were doing before, man, like that's just like temporary work, man. They weren't. I know you wanted to have like some of those jobs. You were like, yeah, I should do this for full time, but that stuff was like temporary, man. That wasn't like.
Yeah, I just, what it was, the other company, that first one, I wouldn't have been happy there, but like, it's just, when I was working at the bookbinding place, like, I felt, I thought like I was going to be in the pocket of this guy. Like, I felt like he was going to be like, he was going to look out for me. And, I was getting extra hours and I was sort of in charge of this team. And I really felt like,
well, I mean, from what you said to me, you were pretty much the longest person there from all the people that get hired at the same time. So,
yeah. It's just,
you know what I mean?
It's more of like a betrayal. I swear to God, because it's not the jobs. I hate, both of those jobs suck. But it just sort of feels like, you're made to feel special, and then they just get rid of you for no fucking reason. That's what kills me the most. I can understand if I was late all the time. I've lost jobs for fucking, I've lost jobs for reasons that can be put on paper. To just sort of be like. And I guess that's the whole point of these temp jobs is, they're not there to be permanent jobs. They're there to fucking use people. They're there to fucking, manipulate the fucking workforce as much as they can. And then, as soon as they don't need you, drop you like a fucking bad habit. And that's my fault. I shouldn't have gone into those jobs thinking there'd be anything else other than, but it sucks looking for new work. And even like right now, like I have the job I have now. And I wish I had a car. I wish I had a car so I could just fucking, I could start doing Uber so I can make up for the time that I'm not working. But, I work, I'm not full-time just yet. And I want to do more, but it's sort of like, I can't do anything until I have a car.
Let's just put it this way. Like, don't say that right now because if you want to become full-time, you might be doing so much work that you're going to pull your hair out, so to speak.
Oh yeah, well no, yeah, that's the funny thing. That's exactly what's going to happen is, I'm going to start working full time, and once I start working full time, I'll be making decent money, and then I'll be like, oh my God, I just want to go on vacation, like I'll get a car. I'm like, but fuck that, I'm not going to be working, I'm not going to be doing Uber. I'm fucking tired. Because it is, and it's one of those deals where it's not a hard job, but it is a tedious. Details matter and everything like that. So. Everything, I'll find something else to be miserable about, trust me. Let's move on to new things. Two of the things I guess a lot of people are talking about, or at least they've talked about recently on Facebook and stuff like that, are from Netflix. There's Bird Box, and then there's Bandersnatch. So I think I'd asked you before the episode, have you seen either of these?
I mean, I've seen enough memes from like, what is it? From that one show that I just want to shoot myself.
Well, so Bird Box is basically a quiet place, but you can't look instead of can't make noise. A quiet place is, I still haven't seen A Quiet Place, but I hear it's real good. But the premise of that was, if you make a loud noise, these monsters will come and attack you because they respond to noise. Well, in Bird Box, and we're gonna get a little, I guess not spoilery, but the premise is there's something. They kind of make it like out to be a monster, but you never see the monster at all through the whole movie. And it's where if you look at the monster, like your biggest fears flood your mind. It's like the worst things you could possibly imagine flood your mind to the point where all you want to do is kill yourself. Which is funny because it's very much, a lot of people brought up of The Happening, M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, people step in front of cars, they shoot themselves in the fucking head, they'll bash their heads against a window, and, so that's what happens if you see the monster. And even if you're looking through a video camera, you see the monster, you'll still go crazy.
That's weird.
Then there's, of the people who survive, there's also, if a legitimately crazy person sees the monster, it doesn't, it affects them, but it doesn't make them want to kill themselves. So it makes crazy people like it makes them into like religious zealots or some shit. So it's sort of, so all the crazy people are trying to make the people who are still alive look at the monster. Look at them, you'll be awakened. So it's I don't know if it's supposed to be an allegory for something, but only crazy people want to spread the word of the gospel or whatever. And then it has, what's her face? Why am I drawing a blank on her name?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. And what happens to Sandra Bullock? I don't know if she tried to get surgery on her face, on her, like, because like her lips look all fucked up, and a lot of people, including my daughter, because my daughter likes horror movies. So I mean, it's not like a horror movie, but I mean there is like a little bit of blood and gore in it. But my daughter goes, she looks like Michael Jackson. And
maybe it's something. Maybe it has something to do with the movie, because I've seen like because there's so much of it out there with Bird Box. I haven't seen like any terrible pictures of her, so maybe it has something to do with the movie.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, my daughter has no other frame of reference. She doesn't know Sandra Bullock, but she's like, that lady looks like Michael Jackson. And
that's fun.
So, the whole thing is like, Sandra Bullock, and I think she's gotten work done on her face, because Sandra Bullock used to be one of the most fucking gorgeous women in Hollywood. And not even like...
Well, she's also older now, too, so you gotta keep that in mind.
I mean, like, okay, fine. Like, I mean, I know there's like those Miss Congeniality movies. She both of them where she's supposed to pass for like a beauty queen, but like I fell in love with her in Demolition Man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
she was, Demolition Man. She was pretty.
She was fine in Demolition Man, and like I don't know, something just
Chris, you got to do that off the podcast.
I'm just saying, time sucks, man. I mean, I'm glad she's working, but it just. Oof.
By the way, like I've heard from a couple people that they're like, this is basically all this stuff that they're talking, like how they're doing it, like all the publicity it's gotten, the free publicity. Mm-hmm. Like, if any other show had that, they would do just as well as this movie, or a show or movie or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of just interesting to see that.
Oh, when like something goes viral like that, I guess.
Yeah. It was like completely like free advertising, because they weren't even really advertising this movie at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad movie. I mean, I've kind of spoiled it, but I mean, not really, because there's. I won't spoil the twist at the end, but I've just sort of mentioned the premise and stuff like that. And, I mean, they didn't mention the crazy people, but then there's the crazy people in the movie also. And the other one was Bandersnatch, which was a choose-your-own-adventure thing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that one, because I'm interested in that a little bit.
Yeah, and I won't... The funny thing is, I mean, if I was to sit here and spoil it, it would make no sense, because, like, if I understand correctly, there are, like, 8 different endings to it, depending on what you choose. Now, what it does is, I think if you let the movie play by itself, let's just say you sit there and you don't touch your controller or anything like that, it'll play a movie for you. Because it stays on all the decisions, and I think, it's an average length of a movie where it's like 2 hours or an hour and, an hour and a half or whatever. But like what I did is when I watched it twice already, and I think I've probably gotten 5 of the endings. I want to go back again, but then again, I'm sort of like, I get a little burnt out, because even if unless you purposely choose to watch the credits, it will kind of let you loop back and change some of the decisions. So you can see if you make I won't. Once again, I'm not going to spoil it, but I would recommend, if anyone who hasn't seen it first, I think you get the best viewing if you make the bad decisions first. I think, like, if you make all the good decisions, the movie's over at, like maybe a little over an hour. The more fun, the more interesting ones are. So, and not that I was on purposely trying to make the bad decisions, but I was sort of like, you look at them and one of them obviously is a little good, one of them's not, and some of them are just totally fucking arbitrary. Like, I'll be, and just put it like that. There are some decisions you make in this movie that have no effect. You make the decision, and unless it's something that I missed, is this sort of, you go do this, and it doesn't do anything, and you go do this, and, and I mean, so, I think they did that on purpose, just to kind of make sure you're awake. The one thing that is cool is I watched this on my PlayStation 4, when the screen comes up for you to make decisions, it makes the controller vibrate. So I thought that was kind of neat. You know, because they specifically tell you in the beginning, like, you know, keep your controller handy because, you know, you'll be making decisions. You know, I'd say, you know, the scenes and everything like that, probably like every 10 minutes, maybe even less. So like I said, I've watched it twice. I've gotten about 5 different endings. And once again, I don't want to spoil it because each ending is a totally different definition. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some endings are good and some endings are bad and some endings are like, what the fuck just happened? And so, you know, there's, you know, some of them like, oh, it was all, this is, once again, I don't want to spoil it, but like I said, the good thing about there, you know, there is no definitive ending. There is no, everyone kind of has their own experience, and some people, oh, I got such and such ending. Oh, I got this ending, you know, but so I've watched it twice so far. I want to go back when it's a little less, you know, right now since I've seen it twice, I'm a little burnt out. And not that it's a bad thing, but, you know, it is kind of intense. And I would recommend, just for fun, making bad decisions first, because I think that's the more interesting version, the most interesting.
Yeah.
So on New Year's, I kind of just, you know, I had my daughter with me, so, you know, once again, I could have gone down to New York. I didn't have the cash. So we kind of just hung out all day, watched movies, watched Home Alone, which is, I guess my daughter's seen it, but she's like, I want to watch Home Alone. So, you know, looked it up. They had it, you know, I'm not paying $3 on Vudu to see it. But it's one of those deals where I was watching Home Alone, and it's so weird to watch that movie now, like so many years later. Like, I forgot, like, they got 15 people flying to France on Christmas. And that's some fucking privileged shit right there. And then, like, someone was like, oh, but the uncle's flying him out or something like that. Because if you watch the movie, like, oh, my brother's in France. So this motherfucker has so much money that he can fly 15 family members out to France. And then, not to mention that, all 4 of the parents for all the kids are flying in first class, you know, and what kind of shit? I mean, of course, the privilege, you know, we wouldn't have the movie if the parents weren't there to see, you know, to watch the kids. But I mean, like, and I know that shit happens in real life for people to fucking get in first class or the kids ride in coach or whatever. That's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? How about, you know, you know, I don't give a fuck if you're a millionaire. If you can't fucking put your kids you can't have your kids fly with you in first class, then you shouldn't be up there. You should be miserable with the kids. Like, who's watching the kids? What, the teenagers are watching the other one down in fucking coach? You're gonna leave that to be an issue for the flight attendant? So, and then and it's just one of those deals where, like, you know, they don't lock their doors. Like, you know, the pizza boy just shows up to the house, and then in the beginning where Joe Pesci's pretending to be a cop, he kind of just, like, walks into the house. There's kids running throughout the house, and Joe Pesci, pretending to be a cop, just shows up. And once again, I'll never understand a world where people just don't lock their doors, you know. And Joe Pesci just walked into the place. I mean, he was casing.
It's called The Country.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's just one. It just still blows my mind of, like, there's houses where people just don't lock their doors. And look at, like, even in this movie alone, Joe Pesci, dressed like a cop, came in and cased the joint, you know, seeing what they had, purposefully, you know, pretending to be a cop, but, you know, he went in and just walked into the house, and all these kids walking around. Like, if he was a fucking murderer or if he was a kidnapper, you know, he could have kidnapped one of the kids and left. And of course, and once again, I understand this is all just a premise. You know, we wouldn't have the movie if the parents were oblivious. So they didn't. So one of the things that sucks, I mean, since we've recorded, it's been, you know, Christmas comes and goes, and it's like, I mean, yeah, my parents sent me a couple bucks, but you know, it sucks when you become an adult and, like, you don't get gifts. I didn't really get any gifts.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said to my mom, I'm like, well, this is what I'd like to get. I was like, would you be willing to, like, buy this? And that's kind of how it usually works anyways.
Yeah.
It's not like when you get to, like, our age, it's kind of like, oh, well, just choose what you want and I'll buy it for you kind of thing. But don't make it too expensive. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, well, that sucks. All right. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you grow up as a kid, you're like, oh, Christmas is great. And then you get to this and you're just like, whatever, I'll just go work.
Yeah.
I like the time and a half is more worth it than the gifts. And then I don't even get to see my son on Christmas Day anymore. It's just, it's kind of just like, whatever. But I did get my Thanksgiving dinner, so I guess that made Christmas this year, so.
Oh. What's this? I mean, and like, you know, yeah, my mom sent me the usual socks and underwear. Yeah. You know, I want a Transformer. I want a toy. I want, you know.
Well, I don't want that. I want more like, I want cash. I want like,
I mean, like, cash is nice. But...
I don't know. I don't know. I can just dream. Whatever. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, I worked Christmas night. I mean, I got paid time and a half.
Yeah.
I was like, I usually do that anyways, because I'm like, so in the morning I'm gonna do everything, then I'm just gonna be sitting there the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just go work? You know what I mean? And that's what I usually do. So, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I wish, like, you know, I didn't have to work as much, but you know, hey, I gotta pay bills off, so it is what it is.
And it's one of those deals where, like, I mean, well, like in your job, like, you know, that's something people do on Christmas Day. They go to the movie. You know what I'm saying? That after you open your gifts and after, you know, you do all the whole family thing.
It's more like the parents are like, or the mom's like, get the fuck out for a few hours.
Yeah.
Just the only thing they can really do is go to the theater. I mean, we did just over 1,000 people on Christmas Day. So, I mean, that tells you that people still go to the movies. And that's a typical, I mean, we usually do about 1,000 to 1,200 people. That's still pretty much what we do every year. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like people aren't going, you know, but it is what it is.
And I, like, since the last episode, I went to go see Bumblebee, which I liked.
How was Bumblebee? Was it really good?
It's a good movie. Let me preface this by saying it's definitely the best of all the Michael Bay movies. You know, and even though technically it's not a Michael Bay movie, it is connected to the universe. It's like directly connected. It's not.
I'm kind of. I mean, I don't want to give away spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it, because I haven't really seen it, but I saw the ending of it, and I kind of looked at the ending and went, okay. Yeah. I'm like, why not just start a new series? Start this all over again.
Well, the whole thing is
that's what it made it sound. That's what it made it feel like it.
As soon as it goes to credits, it says produced by Michael Bay. So I think it's one of those deals where, like, that movie probably wouldn't have gotten made if it wasn't connected to the Michael Bay universe. You know what I'm saying? I think he said, okay, fine, I'll step back and let somebody else make a movie, but you know, I'm not going to give you a dime unless it's connected to my movie. You know? I'm pretty sure they could have gotten money elsewhere.
I mean, I guess, but see, here's my problem with that, Chris. I mean, I don't want to give away the ending, but if you saw the ending to it,
yeah,
like, it makes it out like they could restart the whole thing again if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, they could.
And honestly, I think a lot of people liked it to that point where they should restart it again, honestly.
Yeah, I think they're doing a Optimus Prime movie. I think that's what's planned next. Now, what I do got to say is that, like, this movie, like, it's good. It's not like the others, where all the other movies were, like, straight up action. This one's more family oriented. If that makes any sense. I mean, yes, of course there's action and there's robots beating each other up, but nowhere to the point of like they were in the Michael Bay movies where, like, you know, the fight scene goes on for 45 minutes and you can't tell one robot from another because they all look like fucking, you know, wrinkled, aluminum foil and shit like that. It's much more of a family movie. And it's funny because the girl that stars in the movie, Haley Steinfeld, she also did the voice of Spider-Gwen and the Into the Spider-Verse movie. So it's funny, like, she had two competing movies out at the same time. So the beginning of the movie, there's scenes on Cybertron, and that's not really spoiling anything because we see the Transformers in the commercial fighting on Cybertron. I loved those scenes. I would love for them to make a fully CGI on Cybertron movie, like the way that the beginning of the movie that, you know, unfortunately is only on Cybertron for like 5 or 6 minutes. I'd see it 10 fucking times if they did a movie totally on Cybertron.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of think that based on how this movie did, they should kind of consider maybe holding off a little bit, like. Maybe wait like 5 or 10 years and then do another one, just because I feel like people are burnt out by Transformers. I think this one, if they would have done this one first, and then
it would have been a franchise and a half. If they
it would have done a lot of money. But I mean, okay, let me just say this. So it's done. I think when I was looking at it today, it did like $190 million for the whole year. Or for so far for the year, it's $80 million for, it's $80 million here in the United States, and was like over $100 million overseas, or something along those lines. I don't remember what it was, but the budget for it was $135 million. So it's kind of like, okay.
And I think it would have done better if it didn't go up against Aquaman.
I don't think it had, honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with Aquaman. I think it would have done its own kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that people are just so burnt out from Transformers. Like, I think they should have done the third Transformers and then done this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I think it would have done a lot better had they done it that way. Because the fourth one kind of burned a lot of people. I know some people liked it, some people didn't. Some people were like, why is this even being made at this point? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where, like, I agree with people on that, honestly. It's, for me, this was kind of the movie where I was just like, okay, I like the Transformers, but I don't think it's going to do what it should.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not doing what it should, but we can't just discount that it's probably going to be, by the time it gets out of theaters, it's probably going to do over 100 million when it comes out of the United States theaters, and it's probably going to do overseas. I mean, unless it's already been pulled from overseas, it'll probably do additional money too. So it'll make its budget. It'll definitely make its budget. It'll definitely, be called an okay. Like, it did okay. It didn't do gangbusters, but it did okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. People. I mean, this might be one of those movies where people wait until it comes out on video, Netflix, whatever, and then watch it, and then it'll do even better.
Yeah.
It just, unfortunately, that's what happens. People may like a movie, but then they're just like, listen, I'm gonna wait because I'm burnt out by this movie and I don't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
I'm already paying for Netflix. Why not just wait till it comes?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. So it sucks because I thought we could have done a lot better, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I mean, it's a good movie, and if you like Transformers, and once again, it's more of a heartfelt movie. Like when I think people got burnt out, we're seeing like these movies. Like, you can't bring a 5-year-old to go see these movies, and trust me, I have. I mean, I distinctly remember taking my daughter to go see Transformers 4, or saying I think these movies are so old. I think I remember taking my daughter to go see 3 in the theaters when she was still like a baby in a car seat. But that was I really wanted to go see the movie. That being said, it's much more of a family friendly movie. And this is going to sound weird. I think they borrowed a lot from E.T., if that makes any. It's almost like a retelling of E.T., but with Bumblebee as E.T. To kind of give people an idea of what kind of movie this is. It's like if E.T. was a giant yellow robot from outer space. And I mean that in the best possible way. It's a very heartfelt movie. And like I said, I just wish the parts that were on Cybertron, I want more of that. I would pay to see a whole movie just on Cybertron, especially with the fact that they made the characters look more like the classic, G1 1986 designs or whatever, 1984 designs.
Well, I think that's kind of what made the movie, honestly. I mean, that's why, people wanted to see it in the first place, because that's what they did. And, that's why I'm saying, like, if you try to connect this with the ones that Michael Bay did, it's kind of just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I wish it was a reboot. I really do.
I mean, they could technically, if they wanted to, Chris, at this point, they could do that. I think if their plan is to do more movies, they need to wait a little bit, though. They need to kind of let people, simmer on this movie. Let this movie breathe. Let this movie let people find out about this movie. Let people actually watch this movie. I mean, it's doing really well on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a 94%. Mm-hmm. That movie, that doesn't really happen too often anymore.
Yeah.
So
and we live in a world where, like, they did that with Halloween, where, like, the most recent Halloween movie, they're kind of like, okay, forget part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, H2O. Forget about all those movies. This is a direct sequel to the other one. And I believe they're doing that with the next Terminator movie, where they're sort of like, this takes place after Terminator 2. Forget about part 3 and Genesis and Rise of the Machines and all those other ones. So, and if we live in a world where they're kind of disregarding some of the sequels and shit like that, I think I would love for them to say, you know what, we're going to do a part 2, and it has nothing to do with the Michael Bay movies.
They did it with Superman. They basically, you know, they took, it was the Brendan Roth version, where they went, what was it? It was Superman 1, Superman 2, and then this movie was supposed to come in between 2 and 3, apparently. And I was one of the few people that really liked that movie, dude. Like, I thought they did a really good job of paying homage to, what is his name? I can't think of it all.
Richard Donner?
No. The guy that played Superman before.
Oh, Christopher Reeve?
Christopher Reeve, yeah. It was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't. I'm getting old, Chris. But yeah, I mean, I thought that one was a really good version. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's something to say about the new version of Superman, whether or not, you know, from what I've heard, nobody's really, like, given up on their parts yet. Maybe Ben Affleck, but nobody else has really given up their roles yet. But, you know, I mean, you can do whatever you want in this world at this point. I mean, even, and I know this would excite people when I say this, but I mean, you could even, speaking about Superman and that, you could even change out the Batman and put Christopher Nolan's Batman in there if you wanted to. Like, I mean, you could. Will it happen? I don't know.
No.
I'm just saying it won't. No, it won't probably happen, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, pretty much people will take whatever they do. They don't care. They're gonna do whatever makes sense.
You know, in 5 years, DC's gonna do the Into the Batverse, and it's gonna be Adam West and Michael Keaton and Christian Bale.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
They're gonna do their version of Into the Batverse. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. They've been stealing everything else from DC.
Well, no. They were actually no. They were doing that. They are doing that in the movies. If you remember correctly, in the last Batman movie, they actually had. Oh,
you mean the Lego Batman movie, or
no? I'm talking about the last Batman movie they had in this Justice League continuum that they have.
Oh yeah.
It was Batman. It was It was what was that?
No, because didn't Alfred? Because Batman's like, oh, I'm getting old or something, and then like Alfred says, it's not like exploding penguins or whatever, which is supposed to be from Batman Returns.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about I can't think of what the name of it was, but it was Batman, it was Nightwing, it was Robin, it was Batwoman, it was what is his, the one that's in the bat suit, the flying bat suit. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Oh,
and it was the son of
Damian
Lucius
Wayne?
Fox.
Oh
yeah.
Wait. Oh, the son. Oh, Bad Blood. Is that the one? Because are you talking about the animated movies? Or are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the animated movies.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like they've started doing that, and then they're supposed to introduce Batgirl too. So I mean they kind of have started doing that already, Chris.
No, but I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line, and you know, what you could do is take an established one, like have like Lego Batman, right? And even if it's for 5 minutes, he goes into the quote unquote multiverse, and there's someone who looks like the Michael Keaton Batman. And there's someone who looks like the Adam, someone that looks like the Adam West Batman.
I got what you're saying.
And you know, and it's sort of, you know, once again with different animation styles or whatever. But you know, you have the black suit of Michael Keaton, you have the gray and blue suit of Adam West. You know, the Ben Affleck. I don't know how you would do the Ben Affleck one, because it's also an all black suit. But you know how like the Michael Keaton one looked all slick and smooth, and like how the Batman one, the Ben Affleck one looks all like tactical, or the Christian Bale one looks all tactical. And you know, then maybe you could have the Ben Affleck in the metal suit that he fought Superman in, just to kind of make him distinctive from Christian Bale and Michael Keaton. So you know. So you would have, like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in a Lego movie, they're like, you know, they kind of they do their own version of, like, Into the Spider-Verse, but, like, you know, Lego Batman, Christian Bale Batman, Michael Keaton Batman. You know, once again, that's just me shooting for the stars, but, you know, it wouldn't surprise me that they just borrow from Marvel.
I mean, there was that rumor out there that they may also do, like, a Michael Keaton animated one, so yeah. I'm really hoping that they do that. I hope that he gets on board with that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Marvel has I mean, that's what I was going to say is with the Spider-Verse, for example, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think Marvel was kind of letting Sony test the waters with an animated feature, and it did really well. So I think they may end up trying to do that with other things as well. I mean, I think I talked about this last time, but the main Spider-Man in this was actually Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I talked about this last podcast. So, I mean, they almost got Tobey Maguire. I really hope they did. I was kind of hoping that they would at least try to get him, but they didn't, and it sucks because I think that would have been so much that probably would have actually got them more money, honestly, because there's a lot of us out there that sit there and go, not just because he's the first Spider-Man on screen, like Michael Keaton is the first Batman on screen, but like that's Spider-Man to a lot of people. That Tom Holland, yes. I mean, Tom Holland does a good job as Spider-Man, but he's not a Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire did an all around awesome job, and I think that people wanted to kind of have that. I mean, they did in Spider-Verse, but they didn't really get the voice, and I bet it would have done a lot better if it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of is paying homage to a Spider-Man trilogy that a lot of people liked. Well, maybe not the third one, but but we all know the details on that. We all know about the details about 3 and why it got fucked up and what the issues were with that. So
yeah.
But,
all right. And I think with that, we'll be back with more Dick and Fart jokes.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc., 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this movie.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was going to be a rough.
How could you watch this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
And we're back. All right, so something I forgot to mention before. When I went to go see Bumblebee, I snuck into the other theaters.
Fuck you.
Well, the funny thing is, all right, so it was right next door. I snuck in to go see Mortal Engine. And I guess apparently this is something I did not know, because when I went to go see, and mind you, and I think that was the same, I went to go see Bumblebee opening night. And I went to go see Mortal Engines, and the fucking theater was empty. If I'm not mistaken, they came out the same night. And Mortal Engines was absolutely empty. So since I was the only person in the theater, I saw about half an hour of the movie, and then the screen shut off.
So what happens is 40 minutes after the movie starts, and that's the beginning of the trailers. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my cat's coming up here. 40 minutes after the trailers, all of a sudden, now the movie shuts off. Mm-hmm. It doesn't shut off because it's still playing in the background. It just turns off the bulb, and so that way you're not wasting the bulb life and everything. Mm-hmm. What happens in my case, and it's pretty funny because these people got some balls, is they'll come out and be like, the movie's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, the movie just shut off. I'm like, so now that we've been used to this for, I think it's been in place for at least a year, maybe 2, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I always go to the box office and I'm like, did you sell tickets to this? No. I'm like, guys, sorry, but you gotta go. Well, I wanted tickets for this movie. I'm like, did you ask for this? Oh yeah, I asked for this movie. I'm like, well, do you have tickets? Most of the time they have tickets to something else. Like the other day, perfect example, I had a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she buys tickets for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, she comes up to my box office person. She's like, well, I think we want to change to Bumblebee. And my box office person, she's like, that's no big deal. I'll call up my manager. We'll swap them, whatever. Oh, well, don't worry about it. It's too much of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at concession, and this lady comes up to me and goes, my movie shut off. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What movie are you in? Bumblebee. I'm like, all right, well, give me 1 second. I asked the box office person, is there any tickets sold for this theater? And Bumblebee didn't sell. And this was, I want to say, I don't remember. I think it might have been the last show on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't remember. But I said to the lady, I'm like, ma'am, can I see your tickets? And they were for Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, listen, ma'am, she's like, no, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted the Bumblebee movie. And I'm like, all right, I'll just print up a ticket and then you can just go in. Oh, okay. Because it was for the 10 o'clock show of Spider-Man. She wanted the 10 o'clock show of Bumblebee, whatever time that was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I turned it back on. She didn't complain after that. And that's when I asked my box office person, and she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "We told her that we would switch the tickets out, and she just didn't want to do it." So that's what people do. People will be that stupid.
Yeah. So she missed like 20 minutes or whatever through fixing shit.
And don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure there's people that sneak around like you do, you son of a bitch. But like, we don't really get too much of it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And a lot of it usually happens on the weekends because usually a lot of it would happen on the weekends, but we have like security guards. And these kids are so stupid. They go in there and they're talking, they're messing around.
Yeah.
And they're making it so obvious that somebody comes out and complains and security throws them out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, you kind of destroyed your chance here, guys. Sorry, but you're being idiots.
That's how people get caught, committing crimes and shit. Like, it's not the crime, it's afterwards when they when they blow up their spot. Well, maybe I shouldn't be admitting that I'm sneaking into the movies. No harm,
I'll take mercy upon your soul right now.
But then the funny thing is, then the camera shut up. So then I snuck into Mary Poppins. But and once again, there was another person in the theater, and he had his phone out and he was filming the screen, but he didn't have his phone out the whole time. I think he maybe just wanted the songs or something. It was very weird. You know what I'm saying? Like I know people take out their phones for dumb things, and like people go see live music and you pull out your phone and stuff like that. But it's like, I mean, we are living in a world where more people are like, I can understand if he was holding his phone the whole time, that makes sense. But like, he had his phone out, but then like when the song was over, he put his phone back, and I was like, that was kind of. But like, I didn't stay the whole thing because I was like, and I had to catch a bus home, so I was like, because I was sort of like, I could go stand outside in the cold, or I can go sneak into a theater and catch the 11:15 bus or whatever. So like, as it got closer to like 11:15, I left the theater, and now, I didn't go to your theater, so I wasn't stealing from you.
Yeah, I know you weren't. If I knew you were there, I'd been like, his security follows his ass.
But I went to a plaza. The plaza that I was at, they also have a GameStop. All right, and I've always heard of people who do this, and I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. People who go like dumpster diving, like behind a game, like they'll go to a GameStop dumpster and see if there's games in the GameStop dumpster.
Yeah.
I found one. I mean, don't be wrong. I found like empty boxes, and that was fucking frustrating. But there's this game called Destiny.
You did.
Yeah, and I looked it up. Like that's like $40 now. Like if I was to buy it brand new. I mean, of course, probably used. Like I probably get it for like $20 or something. But I was like, all right. I was heading towards the bus, and I said, you know what? I always wanted. And when I say dumpster dive, like nowadays they have those dumpsters where the doors on the side. It's not like you're actually going into the dumpster. There's like these black panels that slide open for you to throw in your garbage. So I kind of just poked my head in there. You know what I'm saying? No shame in my fucking game. And there was a bunch of empty boxes and shit like that. But I actually got a fucking game. I got this game called Destiny Fallen King or some shit like that.
Was the game still good?
Yeah, and it's a PlayStation 4 game, so it's sort of like, it wasn't scratched.
Why was it thrown away?
I have no idea. I don't know if it was a return. There's a million reasons why people throw shit out. And don't get me wrong, there was a bunch of boxes, because had I had a game for every box, let's just put it like this: if I had a game for every box, if all those boxes had games in them, I probably would have had $200 worth of fucking games, or $300 worth of games. There was literally 10 boxes. One of them actually had a game, and once again, it was that Destiny. I started playing it, and I could think why it probably was a return or whatever, because it was it's boring as fuck. It's a paint by numbers fucking shooter. But I thought that was kind of fun. But then the funny thing is, I go to fucking and of course, like every fucking game on PlayStation nowadays, I had to download like a 15 gig file just to get the game fucking started.
Yep.
It's one of those fucking things. But
now my kid sits there and gets pissed about that, because he's just like, he's still playing on the PS3, and even with the PS3, it still will download games and everything. So
yeah,
and it makes me laugh, because you'd be surprised. I mean, GameStop still has like a section of used PS3 games.
Oh, absolutely. PS3 is a fucking bomb. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's the thing. Like, people are still playing the PS3. People don't realize that. Like, it's like, people don't, aren't messing around here. They're,
yeah, especially now that you could go to GameStop and buy, a AAA game for $5. You know, saying shit. I could go back.
You can buy. They had a special there around Chris. They had a special there. I think Black Friday, where it was like 3 used PS3 games for $19.99.
Yeah.
As long as the games were $9.99. Yeah. I'm like, that's. I mean, yeah. Parents on a budget aren't gonna freaking buy these like huge PS3 games. They're gonna buy this shit.
Well, it's also like, it's one of those deals where it's a game that you didn't have the $60. It'd be a great game, but at the time, you didn't have the money for it. Now it's fucking $10. Now I have the money for it. Like right now, I mean, the two ones I want right now is, like, I want Spider-Man and I want Red Dead Redemption 2. But that being said, in a couple of years, those games, it's not like those games have changed in quality. They're the same great fucking games. Just like, I want to, my deal right now is the Fallout. I love the Fallout games. I'm still playing Fallout DLC right now. I'm in the middle of one, and I finished one. There was 3 of them that came out. I finished one. I'm in the middle of one, and there's another one I haven't even played yet, and it's only because I just haven't gotten around to it. But even like Fallout, saying like the Fallout. I'm talking about Fallout 4, but even if you never played it before, I would recommend playing Fallout 3, which came out for the PlayStation 3. Playing Skyrim, which is from the same company from Bethesda. Playing Skyrim. Skyrim, you could fucking. I think I have 100 hours into fucking Skyrim, and I'm nowhere near the end. It's just one of those. It's a game that you could get lost into playing. So yeah, there's tons of PlayStation 3 games that you could still get into that are still fucking.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what else. Something from the last episode that we didn't get. Well, I had notes from the last episode. The trailers for Hellboy, which looked good. And it's one of those deals where, like, I feel so bad because everybody's bashing this movie only because it's not the sequel.
Okay, wait a minute. No. I'm not bashing it because of him. I'm bashing it because it just looks terrible.
You think it looks bad?
I sat there and I was just like, what the hell? I mean, maybe it's just the way they did the trailer, but I was just like, this is some horse shit right here. Like, the Men in Black 2, the Men in Black International trailer,
and that was
so much better. Yeah, it was so much better than that, dude. Because they came out pretty much the same day. That's why I'm using them both. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I was just like, the fuck is this trash on my fucking timeline? I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, man. Like,
I mean, maybe it's just me. Like, I wasn't negatively affected by it. And the whole thing is, and especially Hellboy 2. I mean, fucking Hellboy 2, the Golden Army, is fucking awesome. That's such a good movie. And even, I don't know, maybe it's just me, like, I'm usually the skeptic. I'm usually like the biggest, like, asshole, like, fuck this shit. I wasn't I want to see it.
I'm just telling you, dude. Like I was not impressed. I was not impressed by it, man. I was kind of just like, I don't even know if I want to watch this. Like it just, to me, it didn't really make sense for me. I'm just like, I mean, if this is what I'm gonna have to, this is what you want me to watch. It's like, think I'm good. Like, like I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's just like I've seen some better stuff, man, and that was just.
Wow.
But it made me puke a little bit. Like I was just like, I don't get this. Like. I just don't get it, man. Like, sorry, I don't want to shit on what you want, but geez.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is that, but see, your opinion is a bit more like what a lot of people were bashing it, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, he looks pretty much similar to what's his name there. So I mean, I'm not so much hating on that. I mean, yes, okay, it's not what's his name, but I'm not sitting there going, well. Fuck them for that. Like, no, it is what it is.
I didn't like the whole thing where they were going into a shop that was the
agency,
the PPRD, whatever the fuck it's called. Because in the original, in the other movies, it was like its own building by itself behind a fence. And this one, they're trying to make it almost like a Men in Black, where it's like hidden in plain sight. Which once again, makes no sense because. If Hellboy ever has to go in and out of the place, how hidden in plain sight makes no sense if the guy just walks around. He walks around looking the way he walks around, and maybe the world already knows about Hellboy, but for a place that's supposed to be hidden, at least like in the first movies, they hid inside a garbage truck or whatever that,
Yeah.
This one where it's like, oh, it's in plain sight, just like Men in Black. I'm like, that's the one thing that I didn't like about it. I was like, no, it's supposed to be, they should have a better explanation of him walking into a place. But it is kind of funny how Men in Black and Hellboy both kind of are like, have that same kind of premise where it's like, it's people fighting stuff that's not regular stuff, sort of hidden in plain sight. Like there are heroes, but people have to go. They're like secret agents or something like that. I'll totally agree with you. The fucking Men in Black International looked fucking fun. I mean, obviously, people are going to draw comparisons to the other movies. I absolutely hated Men in Black 3. I thought it was fucking garbage. I liked 1. I liked 2. I loved 1. I really, really liked 1. I like Barry Sonnenfeld. I like him as a director. He also did the Addams Family movies, and I think he did a show called Pushing Daisies, or at least he did the first episode of Pushing Daisies. And I like Barry Sonnenfeld. I did not like Men in Black 3 at all. And so seeing them, and of course, it's also, hey, it's Valkyrie and Thor from Ragnarok. So, people were drawing that comparison also, but it looks fun.
Yeah, it does. It's completely fun. And I don't think that, I think the way that they went about it is a lot better than what they probably could have done. Mm-hmm. It kind of starts a new journey without hurting the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Not saying that the original trilogy was completely good, but the first 2 movies were really good.
Yeah,
honestly,
and at least they're smart enough to go, okay, because if I'm not mistaken, and this does exist in the same world, because did you see in the Office they have J and K? There's like a poster, there's like a picture, like a painting of them fighting the Roach from Part 1.
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, in the Office. So like this does exist in that world. There's a scene they're in whatever whoever the boss. Oh, the boss, and it's Liam Neeson. They're in Liam Neeson's office. And there's a painting, and it's, there's different paintings of different scenes, but one of the paintings, it's this action-packed, dramatic-looking painting, but it's J&K with the giant roach monster, but looking all, like, dramatic and shit. Look like, like the painting, looks, like something out of, like, the Renaissance, but it's J.K. fighting a giant roach.
It is what it is, man.
But I mean, it's in the same universe that they're respecting. Yeah. They're respecting the first movies, and which I mean, they could have done with this. They could have done that with Hellboy. They could have done it with, they could have done it with the Ghostbusters.
I kind of hope that they. I think as long as this one does well, and I think it could. The problem is like I was telling you, sci-fi movies these days don't really do well. Mm-hmm. But if this does do really well, you know, why not do a sequel to this and then make sure you do the sequel right, because God forbid. And then in the third one, bring in Will Smith. Bring in like an older version of Will Smith, or do kind of like what Will Smith had to do to bring Kay back. You know what I mean? Like Will Smith is like off living his life, and then all of a sudden, you know, they need him to stop a certain alien or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If they brought in Will Smith for a cameo, people would lose their fucking minds.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. Will Smith does sci-fi movies very well. Yeah, exactly. I think he does sci-fi movies really well. I mean, look at iRobot. I think iRobot is still one of the best sci-fi movies I've seen.
The first Independence Day.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, we could talk about this all day. I mean, you're talking about pretty much a guy that made some of these sci-fi movies big. It's because of him. It's because of Tommy Lee Jones. It's because of other people, you know, and, you know, we got to give them props. And I think that would be a good idea. But there again, it's hard to tell which movies are going to do what these days.
Yeah.
Men in Black has had time to rest. Mm-hmm. So maybe it will do well now. Yeah. But that's the thing, like, it had rest. Transformers didn't really have any rest. I mean, I think the last one came out, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
That's not a long time. So, and the last Men in Black, I think, came out, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long while. I think it's at least 5 years.
It was about 2011 or 12 or something.
Yeah, like so yeah, that's definitely perfect. This is perfect to bring this movie out now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think it's going to do well. And, you know, it is what it is, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
but
I'm excited for this summer. I'm excited for the movies coming out this summer. Hopefully it'll do well.
Oh yeah. I mean, this year, just, you know, the last Star Wars, you know, Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel.
I don't think this will be the last Star Wars, but yeah, continue.
I mean, well, the last of the Skywalker legacy Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're already, if I remember correctly, they're already working on the new trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember correctly, so that'll be nice to see what they come up with there, because I really want it to do well.
I mean, just the fact that, I mean, for people, you know, these movies, you know, George Lucas intentionally wanted this to be, you know, wanted them to be 9 movies. You know, it's the end. I mean, of course, you know, as much as I fucking disliked The Last Jedi, I want to see the completion. You know, I'm not, as much as I hated The Last Jedi, I'm not going to be one of those people, I'm boycotting the last one or whatever, because, you know.
I don't think a lot of people are going to boycott the last one. I think a lot of people are going to watch it to see what happens, to see how it's all finished.
Yeah, it's like saying I'm going to boycott the Super Bowl. Like, who's not going to fight? You know, it's like, it's such an event. How are you not going to go see it? You know,
and that's another thing too, like, to kind of see the difference. This year.
Yeah. I want to see how J.J. Abrams undoes all the shit Rian Johnson did.
So the last movie, the last 3 years, not including this year, 2018, when there was a Star Wars movie, we did, on the day after Christmas, we did 3,000 to 4,000 people, just in that day. It was mind blowing. Here's the problem: without the Star Wars, we didn't even get anywhere close to 3,000 people, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and especially that this is the last one. There's gonna be people who aren't Star Wars fans who are gonna go see this movie because it's the last Star Wars.
And I'm gonna say this to you too. Like, I'm still a believer that if they would have brought Solo out during December, it would have done so much better than what it did over the summer. It would have done really well, I think.
That would have been interesting. To have,
I think, and I said that to my boss.
Go up against. I mean, think about it. Imagine this past Christmas season. It would have been Solo, Aquaman, Bumblebee. You know, that would have been a real interesting time at the box office.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Like, Disney thought that Mary Poppins Returns was going to do well. It started off slow. It really did, and then it kind of picked up steam. I don't know how much it's done, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So I mean, there's a lot of movies that it's weird. This year's kind of like a mixed bag. There's a lot of movies that did really well. Let me back that up. There's a lot of movies that did unexpectedly. I said that so wrong. I did. You know what I mean?
Unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly did well. and then there were some movies that they thought this isn't the first Disney movie that bombed this year. I don't even know if I can say bombed. I'd have to look up how much it did, but what was that movie with Oprah Winfrey in it? It was earlier this year.
Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time was supposed to do really well. It bombed.
Yeah.
So Disney is not doing as well as it should be. Now, are the Marvel movies doing well? Yes. Is Star Wars going to do well? Yes. But and then anything live action pretty much is going to do well. I mean, look, we got Aladdin. I think is this year.
Yeah, you got Aladdin, you got Dumbo, you got
Lion King, but I don't think
King.
Lion King is till next year, right?
No,
or is it
pretty
this?
sure this is...
Really, they're gonna do two? Oh my God, we're gonna be swamped. Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah. When we had Beauty and the Beast, dude, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were selling out 400-seat movie theaters, and that was like for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, and I think on the whole, people like Lion King more than Beauty and the Beast.
Oh God, it's
because Beauty and the Beast was more like a romantic movie, where the Lion King is a family.
Yeah.
So I think and I mean, allow me to just be a little kind of keep it real here. I mean, this has I think it's going to have with predominant. I don't want to say predominantly black cast, but I think this is going to push in that direction.
Yeah.
With like Beyonce doing voices and
it's going to do as well as Black Panther.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that it's going to have an extra audience in the African American community. I mean, put it the best politically correct way I could say it. But I'm saying is I think it's going to get an extra bump because of that. Besides the fact that it's a Disney movie.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
But I mean, unless there's something else that you want to talk about, you got to be somewhere here soon.
Well, so. I mean, because my bus doesn't come for like another half an hour. No, I had a couple things I just wanted to talk about real quick. Okay. Of course, a moment of silence for. I think there was more than just these two deaths this week, but of course, Mean Gene Okerlund. The Rock. When I say The Rock, I mean not the wrestler The Rock. Mean Gene Okerlund was a staple in 80s wrestling. One of the most professional, and it's funny, I say professional, I posted a picture of him grabbing these two girls' tits, but I think in that picture they fucking told him to or whatever. One of the most professional, he was a straight man. When I say straight man...
Now there's going to be like a sexual harassment thing come out.
But you're saying there's always these,
he touched me.
When you have like two people in entertainment or whatever, like there's the straight man and then there's like the color person, and a lot, like whenever they do wrestling commentating or whenever you do any kind of commentating, whenever there's teams, there's always like the main person, like the straight person who says who says more of the facts and is sort of like the normal voice of reason. And then you have the person that's the color, like a Jerry the King Lawler or Bobby the Brain Heenan or I'm trying to think of who does wrestling announcing now. It's sort of I don't know who does the voices now when they talk or whatever. I mean, there's always a straight person and then there's the color person. Mean Gene was always the straight person. And when I say that, he was always, but that being said, him being as professional as he was, seeing him interview Hulk Hogan back in the day and Macho Man Randy Savage back in the day and Ultimate Warrior, just go on Google and look up Mean Gene Ultimate Warrior, Mean Gene Hulk Hogan, Mean Gene Macho Man. He stood there totally straight-faced, trying to keep his composure, and doing a professional job, and these guys just shined with him. He was the Rock that they bounced off of to fucking be as ridiculous. It takes a certain level of professionalism. And they always picked on him and they called him Baldy, and the big one was always about him being bald. I just got to say he was the most professional guy. He brought a certain legitimacy to wrestling. A great announcer, great speaking voice, great interviewer. And it really is a loss. I mean, of course, times, the time moves on, and unfortunately, people can't stay with us forever. But super duper professional, always legit. Nobody has a bad word to say. I mean, of course, like you said, something will probably be a controversy that comes out later on or whatever. But for the time being, a legit fucking dude, and it's the end of an era when Mean Gene died. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. I mean, that's that's every wrestler in the 90s, in the 80s, and stuff like that. And also Bob Einstein, who I didn't even know his Einstein, or Einstein, but I believe it's Einstein or Einstein, who played Super Dave Osborne, or I knew him more from playing Marty Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He also passed away this week, and so terrific, funny man. He was a writer in his 50s and shit like that. Once again, he was friends with Larry David, which is how we got on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But he always had that very dry delivery, very soft-spoken. Always, it was very easy to kind of make him the butt of the jokes and stuff like that. But always a consummate professional. So we lost two titans this week when it comes to comedy and entertainment and stuff like that. So a moment of silence for those guys. So just real quick, they're putting ads for Stranger Things already now. Like, Stranger Things should have came out last October, in my opinion. But they're like, Stranger Things coming out July. Like, fuck you, I can't wait till July. I want to see Stranger Things now. But, it should have come out around Halloween when the other two seasons of Stranger Things came out. But I guess we have to wait all the way till July. And the Christmas season is over, so no one's getting, there was a great video online about people who were stealing packages. And this guy built a machine that basically shot glitter out the top of the package and started spraying fart spray. So when people steal, and he also, I watched this whole 45-minute video of the guy designing it, where he set up cell phones in it. There were 4 cell phones in that package, so there were cameras shot out in every direction. And then the machine, it sprayed glitter all over the place, and then it also had a thing with fart spray, where it was spraying fart spray.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, people just throwing it out, they didn't go deeper into looking into it. And once they smelled this fart spray and got the glitter all over the place, they threw out the box, and then he basically had GPS on the phone, so he could help find it later on.
I think the funniest part about that whole thing was had they actually looked at it, there was what was it? It was 4, 5, 6 iPhones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had 4 cell phones in there, one at each angle. That had they really looked at it, they could have. Hey, I got myself 4. I mean, of course, he had the GPS on all those things, so I'm pretty sure all he had to do was just go look and find out where the box was last and go right to the person's house. If they brought it home and stuff like that, which most people, they would bring it home. I mean, even if you open up the phone, got the cameras in your car, you're eventually going to take them home, before you do go any deep investigating into the phones. So, I think that's a good thing. I think people should do more shit like that. That's fucking awesome. I saw they said that they took, when they cleaned their cat litter box, they took the cat shit and put it in a box and put it on their doorstep to see if someone would
hilarious.
Steal it. So shit like that. I mean, because people who steal boxes and shit like that, those are scumbags, and I'm glad that guy developed that machine to fucking get those people like that. And that's it. I mean, we could have talked about how Kevin Hart went on Ellen today, at the day we were recording this, and sort of apologizing for anti-gay statements that he said 10 years ago, when he said that if his son was playing with with his daughter's dollhouse, he would smack her over the head with the dollhouse. He would bash. He literally said, "I would hit my son over the head with the dollhouse," and say that's gay. And so, I just find it interesting that, in the black community, gay, people still, it's still, if you're black, it's still okay to bash gay people. In that community, they're gay, you fucking you homo, shit, but it's they're a marginalized group themselves. I won't get into it, but I was going to get into
it. Are Chris Cologne. They're not necessarily.
I'm just going to say, because I've been watching a lot of,
Listen, man, you gotta understand something. The thing that's always bothered me about shit like this is when people bring up stuff that happened a decade ago, and yet you can't just let this guy just be fine.
This is in the same pocket of James Gunn, and the funny thing is that I defended James Gunn, and I guess I'd be a hypocrite if I'm not going to defend Kevin Hart also, but I'm just it's just. I don't know. It just in this situation, it feels disingenuous. It feels like Kevin Hart's just saying this just to fucking,
I don't think he's saying that
because his career. His career was nowhere. Well, 10 years ago, no one knew who the fuck Kevin Hart was. He was that guy from
you want to know something though, Chris? Like there is nobody stepping up to the plate to take over for Kevin Hart, because that's why Kevin, like, a lot of people complain about Kevin Hart. Well, why is he still around? Why is he still doing this? Because he knows how to stay around. He partners with The Rock, because if he partners with The Rock, he will stay around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy is an intelligent motherfucker, and people need to recognize that shit, because this man will still be around. I mean, look at
well, he was smart at going on Ellen. I mean,
yeah, there's that too. I mean, I'm trying to think of who that person was. God, what is his name? He does Eddie Murphy's voice. He's a black comedian. I can't think of his name. He's been on some shows, but he hasn't really hit anything big. Like, there's no really, like, I mean, that probably tells you why I can't even think of his name off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's no other black comedians out there that can do what Kevin Hart does. Yeah. The guy literally does movies, still tours, and does comedy shows. And
I know he broke some sort of record. I want to say, like, the most. It's either the most people at one stadium or like.
Could be.
Or like the first comedian to sell out a stadium or something. He broke some record. Like,
Could be.
He's broken records with his comedy.
He was here in Rochester. He did a performance here in Rochester. The one thing I don't like about his events is that they confiscate your phone.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, because every comedian's got to do that. I mean, and that's a whole other thing we could have talked about, the Louis C.K. thing. Louis C.K., did a whole set, and you sort of like, I heard the set, and it's like people are getting offended, but it's sort of like Louis C.K. was always offensive. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a fucking asshole. But that being said, if you weren't a fan of Louis C.K. before, you're not going to change now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he said some pretty offensive things, and he said, like, he said jokes that involved about the kids in the Parkland shooting, but he was sort of, I don't want to say he was being offensive just to be offensive, but I think people are taking extra offense because he's talking about kids that were in the Parkland shooting.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly the problem is, Chris, we're living in a sensitive world now, where everybody takes offense to everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the problem here. You shit the wrong way, you get taken offense to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, if you were never a fan of him before, you're not going to be a fan of what he said now.
Right.
But then again, he said offensive shit back then. Yeah. He's always been offensive. That's sort of his angle, But Kevin Hart, when he said taking the phones, I mean, because he's trying to sell shit. Like everybody else, he's trying to sell shit to Netflix. He doesn't want, if he pose, let's say he performs here in Rochester, and Rochester is a relatively small town compared to other cities, and then he goes, and then someone from the Rochester show puts his shit up on Facebook, on YouTube, that could affect his ticket sales when he goes to New York City. Because these guys, they don't end in the bullshit. They don't end in small towns like Rochester. They'll do their last show in Madison Square Garden or the Staples Center. Whatever. He's gonna end somewhere big. He's not gonna let some fucking podunk small town like Rochester, where some asshole has their phone and puts it up on YouTube, to spoil his show and affect his ticket sales. When he goes to New York City or something like that. So, I mean, does it make me angry? Yeah, but I get it.
I mean, I get it too, but I kind of sit there and go, but what if I want to take pictures of being at this place? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think I understand the reasoning, but I also think it's stupid, because then you're taking the interaction with fans away. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but that's neither here nor there. We need to Need to get going, so let's
Yep.
get on out of here.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net where you can find all things show related. First and foremost, you can find links to our iTunes page. So if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or an iPod, who the fuck still has an iPod? But in case you do, you can subscribe to us on iTunes if that's how you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to us there. If you don't have an iPhone, an iPad, or iPod, you can find us on the Stitcher app. That's STITCHER, the Stitcher app. For Android, actually for all devices, but this is what I use since I have an Android device. I don't have iTunes. I listen to all my podcasts on the Stitcher app. You can put it on the listen later option and available offline. So when you're out and about, you're not killing your battery and you're not killing your data. Pretty much every podcast worth listening to, since Stitcher is what I use, every podcast worth listening to is on there. You got, Kevin Smith's Smodcast. You had, Mark Maron's, WTF. And of course, you got Paul's other baby, the Toonami Faithful podcast, all available on Stitcher. So once again, you can download them when you're in a Wi-Fi spot and listen later without killing your battery or your data. Or of course, you can find us on our actual hosting site on SoundCloud. You can find us on SoundCloud, the app. I do make the episodes available for download if you want to do so. If you want to write to us, and I checked the email while we were recording. Unfortunately, Oscar still hasn't decided to.
I think he only does this like once a month or once every once in a while.
Yeah,
so.
he decided he doesn't want to bless us with his interactions with the show. But if you want to write to us,
Oscar.
the way he has in the past, you want to write and call me a piece of shit or whatever. You can write to us at twostrangersonepodcast. That's all spelled out at gmail.com. twostrangersonepodcast. We want your money. We need your money. And until I set up a fucking Patreon, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/twostrangersonepodcast, where it takes 2 seconds to like and share this episode, 2 seconds to like and share the page. Once again, if you want to support the show, take 2 seconds and share us and like us, because getting the word out always helps.
Chris likes.
Yeah, I likes.
Yeah.
We got the Twitter up and running last episode, so that's at Stranger Podcast. If you want to interact with us on Twitter, you could go. And I actually put out a Stranger vlog, which was like from earlier this year. There's a Stranger. Oh, did I put it out? I know oh shit, I may have not put it out. But you go on YouTube, search for Two Strangers One Podcast, because anything you won't find on SoundCloud right now, all the other 5 or 6 years worth of podcasts before that are all available on YouTube. Just search for Two Strangers One Podcast. You can find links to my audiobook, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, also on a Two Strangers One Podcast page on YouTube. And then there's my Stranger vlogs, which I recorded one. I might have uploaded it. I think I uploaded it. Yeah, called Forums Suck. I don't know. If not, I'll do it soon. But I have 2 more videos. Then I still have to put together my Comic-Con ones from this year, which is like 2-3 months later. They'll all eventually go up to the YouTube page. So you could search for us on YouTube. I can't think of anything else. I acquiesce the 40 use.
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Pascrillo. You can email me. It's paulpascrillo@toonamifaithful.com. And if you're on Discord, it's discord.com or Discord, the Toonami Faithful Discord. You can just @ me at Paul Pascrillo there. And that's basically how you can reach out. So, yeah.
Well, we certainly hope you guys had as much fun listening as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Don't be a stranger.
Peace. We're out.
Bye. You should be fapping.
Sick bastard.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne? Smells good to me.
But
Look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
But it is spelled Colon.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? Sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I got to meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia is spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show, I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it, that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15, and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15 is not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I
and
will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne right now.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonepodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.